I'm so like, I don't know what happened to me because I used to be so type A, and certain times in my life, certain parts of my life, I still am. But I am just like so flighty in other areas of my life, and I don't know how to change it. To-do lists don't help, like whatever. But I totally forgot to post book club post in our Facebook page with our, I mean, I recorded it and everything, and I just forgot to post it. Not a big deal, but we're recording now. So chapter 9, refuse to be refused. You can't beat a person who never gives up, which I think is truly network marketing 101, right? Like the number one tip is don't quit. I mean, it truly is. And I remember hearing that when I first started and thinking there's got to be so much more to that. And there are other things, but it all boils down to don't quit. It truly does. So anyone want to go first? Sharing what stood out to them this week?
I can share.
All right.
Just when she, just in general, I think between the whole chapter and then her first story that she started out with about going to Barcelona and like all the things that happened that like she had every reason to be like, to feel like a failure, to like give up, but like she runs to get like a duffel bag from the store. Like, I don't even know if I would have thought of that, but that was really smart. But, I feel very challenged when someone tells me that I can't do something, like it's like game on. Like I'm about to show you how, like I feel very connected to that because there's been a few times in the last few years where I have really like taken that to heart. My daughter, when we were deciding about going to Padua for high school, and we hadn't gone region quite yet again. And my husband looked at me, and he's a realist, and I'm the, like, we can do it. Like, we can figure it out. But he's like, no, on paper, this doesn't make sense. But in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, it can happen. He's like, well, we can't live on it can happen. We have to live on what it says right here in the bank. And I don't care what the bank said because my kid was going to Padua because that's where she wanted to go. So we were going to make bank however we did it. And I went and researched every scholarship that I could find. And I went into that school and I pleaded my case. And I went, and you know where my kid goes to school? She goes to Padua. So it's like I looked at my husband and we got the letter and I showed and I said, see, I told you we could do it. You know, and it's not that I feel like I need to tell somebody like I told you so. Only my husband sometimes, because I feel like he really challenges me. So, and one day when you hear my whole deep rooted region, like journey of all the little things that happened, that part of me comes out a lot. So, and we won't use the club to do that.
I know the story.
I have like sat in her living room and cried about it.
I hope to be a little side character in the story. But it is like you, as hard as it is, Cindy shines in those areas. She doesn't feel like she's shining in the moment, but it's like when her back's against the wall, like there's nobody gonna tell her no. Like not even yours truly. So I just learned to like ride it and just be the biggest cheerleader I can. But that to an extent, you were probably always like that, but I'm sure it continues to get deeper and deeper. Like you wouldn't have thought, well, probably 8 years ago or 7 years ago when you started Arbonne, like you just said, I don't know what if I would have thought to go get a duffel bag, right?
Right.
So now, like you've stretched that muscle, like you've grown that muscle, even though it's probably one you've already had, to the point where in the future you might go get that you might think to go get that duffel bag because you're always just pushing the boundary. You're just taking that next little step that most people wouldn't, you know?
Right. When you're put in the situation, I think that's when that moment comes out. Because you're right, back 7 years ago, I had no idea that I was that way. I used to be very, very meek and very I was the people pleaser. Like,
Mm.
I wanted to do what made you happy. And I was like, I think I got to the point where people would walk all over me. And then I got a voice. And now sometimes I have too much of a voice.
That's
So
so funny. Like, you let people walk all over you?
I used to, yeah.
I do
I
not
used
see that person anymore.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, almost to a fault in a relationship that kind of got out of hand,
Mhm.
in a bad way. And so I think that that probably was a turning point for me, um, because you can only take it so far. Like, when you're a people pleaser, it's like, are you trying to please a person or become a doormat? You have to figure that out.
Mhm.
And I was becoming a doormat. And I think that my husband and I, we sometimes are like this because he was a doormat in his past relationship. So when you have two doormats who have all of a sudden gotten a voice and you put them together, sometimes you have this. Oh, but
Rather
now we're like
that
this.
than be a doormat, right? No, that was awesome. Anybody else have a story like that where you're like, yes, this figuring it out, I have in my life too.
I do a little bit. This chapter was hard for me to dig deep enough,
Mhm.
and I'm doing that. This chapter was another hard one. But like when somebody tells me, it could just be moving the refrigerator to paint the wall. Don't tell me I can't move a refrigerator. I don't need help. I don't need a man to do it. I will figure it out. I've figured it out for the last 12 years on my own. I'll figure it out.
Mhm.
And figuring out could be everything from paying the bills to how do I get a mattress into my own bedroom. I'll figure it out because I'm just not always so great at asking for help.
So this was difficult for you because you feel like you got a good handle on this.
No, it was like, think of it when it said I had to leave questions blank in the homework. When it said, think of a time, oh, now I can't find the page. Where is it? When you've refused to be refused, have you been refused on the path to your big dream? I find myself when it was talking about like big dreams and what would I do, I'm not thinking big yet. I don't even have big. I can't even visualize big yet.
Mhm.
So when it's talking about a big dream, I'm like, I don't know, whatever, I don't know. And I was like retreating into like a little me, and I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
what I don't know.
I totally hear what you're saying though. Like there are certain places, like for example, and this is random. I don't know if you would feel like this would apply in any way, but like people do journaling and I'm like, I cannot journal. And some people thrive there, but like I'll sit down with a notebook and I'm like, you could even prompt me with a question. And I'm like, I don't even know in my head like where to start or which way to go. And I find with some of this homework, with other questions, I feel the same way. So I think there's certain things we're all like at that point where we haven't. I mean, I guess I don't know the word. I think it's perfect for you to say, like, I haven't thought big enough yet to have that be a boundary, have it be an issue yet, and I don't know how to get to that point where I'm thinking bigger because right now I'm literally just right here. Like,
Well, it's
I
because
totally
I
hear.
thought of you because it was saying the question was about, what would you do with the big dreams? Well, it was number 6. The question, and I thought of you and thinking I'm not thinking big enough. You guys were able to quit your jobs and move to support a volunteer organization that you loved. That was, and all I could think of was, I'd adopt a family at church.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, you moved your entire life to do that.
Well, but let me tell you though. Yeah, Bailey, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
that's like discrediting your dream, like to say that it's not big enough. Like that impact is still impact.
Mhm.
It is, but that's what I was thinking. I'm like, but that's not dreaming big enough.
Mhm.
Oh, I think it's dreaming huge
Well, it
to be able
depends
to give
on,
someone.
Says you, like
yeah,
not big enough. Says you.
it depends like where you're at. You know, if you have money to throw around, then sponsoring a family at Christmas might not be a big deal. But if you like are barely providing for your family at Christmas, but you are determined to rise up in the next 12 weeks and have enough money to provide a Christmas for a family, that's a huge deal. You know, nobody's here to say it isn't. And what I want to say about me, and I think is true for so many people and true for a lot of people in my position in Arbonne or people who you would deem successful and whatever, is I didn't know our missions organization even existed when I started my business. I didn't know it. Like, I didn't know it until I was a region. And that's when we first heard of it, first went on our missions trip. So when I started my business, my dreams were not outside of my family. My dreams were what felt really big to me at the time, but were just regular things. It was, I hope when I have a kid, I can afford to stay home because right now I can't. I hope when we have kids, I could help them pay for college because right now we couldn't do that. I hope that in the next month, when I first started Arbonne, my number one goal was to be able to go get my nails done once a month without putting it on a credit card. That was my goal. And that was a big goal for me. So to be able to go shopping and buy something I wanted on a whim without feeling guilty and having to put it on a credit card. Like that's where my goals started. So it was hard for me. I'm just like you. It's hard for me to think beyond what I think is possible. So my goals grew as my business grew. Like I believed I had to start with what I believed first. I believed if I really, 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 really tried, like gave it everything I had, no excuses, 100% commitment, following, like doing everything I was supposed to, I could make $2,000 a month. I wholeheartedly believed I could. And that was like the biggest my head ever got with Arbonne when I first started. And that was my first big goal. And then when I accomplished that, that's when I was like, I wonder if I could make $4,000 a month. And then you just keep going until you hit that. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I wonder if I could make $8,000 a month. And then your goals grow alongside that income. So my encouragement for you with that comment is like, don't cut yourself off at the knees. Like, don't undervalue what big goals are to you right now, and just grow your goals alongside your business growth and be authentic, like just be truly real about it. Do not compare your goals to anybody else's, because if you are comparing yourself right now to Cecilia Stoll, the top income earner in Arbonne, of course your goals are going to look like stupid, right? Like mine, like they all do compared to her, you know? So you can't do that, because if we all did, then like none of us would accomplish anything. None of us would be giving in ways that matter, you know? So, but I totally hear it. And my comment about this not applying to you because you, the first thing I said, like you feel like you've got this under control, like you've mastered the I can figure it out thing, was a compliment. It wasn't a like it wasn't
a lot
anything
of
but a
times I do
compliment.
it out of spite to other people because I don't want to ask for the help.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's something I cannot do myself, don't know how to do, or will probably hurt myself doing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to me to prove to my kids that whatever it is, their mom is going to figure it out on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And that, oh, I want them to think in 10 years to go, my mom's kind of a badass. And so like a lot of times that's my motivation to figure it out, is for them to be able to say that about me.
Yeah. Well, and that's definitely a strength for sure. I think it's a strength too, to know when you need help, and your kids to see you ask for help too, though.
Mm-hmm.
So they know it's okay to ask for help when you truly need it. But I think that's for sure a strength. And again, like, I don't think all chapters apply to all of us. Some of us are going to be like, I feel like I got this. I feel like I got this one, you know? And other chapters are going to be like, okay, this is where she hit me in the gut because I need to figure this one out. So that was what my comment meant anyways. So anyone else feel that way, or have something else to say, or want to piggyback off Cindy? Anything at all?
That's kind of where I'm at. I don't feel like I've dreamed quite big enough yet to have that thing be a thing, but I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to. I have a dream currently starting to develop. So yeah, this chapter, I don't know, it was a weird chapter for me, kind of. I was kind of in the same place where I didn't really I had trouble with the homework, and I hate journaling. Journaling's the worst.
Ooh, I got this new devotional that prompts you through different things. I'm like, this is perfect. This is perfect. It is the worst. I love the devotional part, but the writing out journaling part, I'm making myself do it because it's feel like it's maybe a comfort zone thing. I don't know, but doesn't mean I like it. This is what I want to say to you guys about what you just said here. Okay. Page 222. She's talking about being at the conference, and a guy walked up to her and said, really? Is that a real business? You actually make money doing that? Come on, this is a hobby, isn't it? Tell the truth. You have a rich boyfriend or husband who pays your bills. So despite you guys having dreams outside of Arbonne goals, I think this could apply to maybe make it more tangible for you who feel like this was maybe a little bit more difficult. Is, do you have goals of building this business to a place, even if it's just a $500 a month would be amazing place, and you're uncomfortable putting yourself out there because of this kind of response, or a no response, or I'm afraid of what they're going to say or think of me response, because I think that so much applies to the homework.
I think that everybody's a little afraid of what somebody's going to say about them, because I think that everybody's had some sort of weird, bad experience with network marketing. And I want to be able to have a solid answer that if somebody's like, oh, you're doing that, I want to be able to have the proper, snappy, and educated answer for things like that.
Yeah, we all do. We all want to have that snappy answer. It's not a snappy answer. You want to be like, let's have coffee. Let me explain what a pyramid scheme is. It's hard. But I will tell you, the best thing I've ever heard regarding a snappy answer is from our up line, Tori Brandt. And she said when people say to her, oh, do you do one of those pyramid scheme things? Her response is, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? I don't think so. She plays
People
dumb.
have to eat their own words. That's fun.
Yeah, she plays dumb. And I'm like, oh, one of those things? What do you mean by one of those things? And so
then they have to be bold enough to say something to you.
Yeah.
Actually be like, oh, bleh.
I know people who that a lot.
I would encourage you, if you're uncomfortable there, you need to be confident. I think a lot of that plays a role in your success here, and how you approach people is when you're confident in what you're doing. So something you could do is research literally the difference between pyramid schemes and MLMs. Just research that. And there's easy blog articles you can read that explain the differences. Some of them get kind of deep, but if you read those and you have questions, message me because I can explain it to you. a lot of it, I mean, we don't need to talk about it right now because we could talk about it for hours, but you want to be educated in the difference, because there are network marketing companies that are pyramid schemes because of the way they're structured, the way they get paid, the way they promote, and that kind of thing. But they get shut down because it's illegal. So that's the first thing you can come back at somebody. You mean an illegal business? I don't have an illegal business, right? Like Tori kills me because she plays dumb. She's like, honestly, I don't know what a pyramid, I don't know. I haven't researched pyramid schemes, but I'm not a part of one. Like, and I'm like, okay, that's the quickest comeback answer I've ever heard, that truly does kind of spin it, other than having to sit down and have a real conversation. But I do encourage any of you that feel uncomfortable to just research that, just read it. And then the book, The 4-Year Career, is really good too. It's super small, easy read, and that will kind of like drive some of that stuff home for you in the right direction. But what else, guys?
On 226, where they start going through like the facts,
Yes.
the more you care about what others think, the more they own you. And like, and for once, non-Arbonne related. So my youngest sister-in-law, we have had to, like, you can't disown your sister-in-law, but like, what's another word for removing somebody from your life, like permanently, because of things that they say? Yeah, like things that they say. And at first I started to be concerned about things that she would say to us. And then you have to go back to like, someone's opinion of you is none of your business kind of a situation. So she said some pretty horrible things, like, and it kind of, for a minute, I had it like literally for a split second, because then I got back onto my like, you can't tell me that that's who I am, because that's not who I am. Uppity, I think she called me uppity, and she called me crazy. She told me that I beat my children, like all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And I'm like, that is not who I am. That is not who I am. And if you allow like those thoughts or those types of things to influence you, then you like start to get mad. But like, you shouldn't waste your energy getting upset about what other people are concocting in their mind that isn't true. So as I was reading through these facts, I started thinking a lot about her, and how like, just because somebody thinks that, it's not truth. So you should never let, I can't get my words out now. You just can't let somebody's false thoughts, wherever they have come from, like get into your head either, because that's going to bring you down. And we had to like eliminate her like completely. Like, she's not, my children are not allowed even to answer the door if she shows up on our doorstep. Situation. So that's just kind of
hard. I like the 3 tactics that she gives. Obviously, when it gets deep and it's family, like things get deep, but I think at the same time, these 3 things help, right? And in our industry, we tend to, what's the word I'm looking for now? Take a situation and just magnify it and make it a bigger deal than it actually is, or assume the negative in a situation where we shouldn't. And so the 3 tactics she shares is always consider the source, feel sad, not mad, and have a good laugh about it. And I think with the little things that because we open ourselves up to criticism just with what we do for a living, because that's natural, or that's what we, not for a living, well, for some of us, but like for what we do in Arbonne, like people are critical. They just are. And so we put ourselves in a position knowing that there is potential for negative feedback. And so naturally we assume that when certain situations we shouldn't, which honestly, things are rarely as bad as we like potentially expect them to be with responses from people or messages or interactions or whatever.
Mhm.
But I think these are really good points to practice when we do feel maybe if we get like a negative response. I'll tell you, some of you have heard before, but people can get back to me and say they're not interested. People can get back and say, I'm not a MLM supporter. Please stop messaging me. But the thing that gets me the most upset is when I send out like an email and I receive an email back that just says, please remove me from your email list. Like, I don't know what it is about that, but it hurts my feelings so bad. I don't send email. That's how we used to communicate with our clients all the time, through email. So I would get those often. But I would just create these negative stories around that. And this would have been so much more helpful, you know? But it is, I think this applies so much outside of business, is what people think about us, because there's always people that aren't going. There's another part I highlighted in here that has something to do with that. I'm not finding it though.
Laura, I have to tell you while you're looking for that, back when we used to send emails, I had a separate where you would just click on it and it would just be all my Arbonne people, so that I wouldn't have to keep typing everybody's name in each time I sent an email. And I accidentally attached it to like my regular email where it went to like 1,000 people. And I got so many of those messages and I was like,
I would have curled
oh
up in a ball and just like.
And I don't know how to retract an email, so.
I can't. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just so cold and like, I don't know. I can't, I still don't
I know,
like
but it was my best friend's husband from high school, my best friend from high school, her husband. I was like,
don't know why people have to be so rude. Like just
Like at
ignore
least
it.
an email response that would have been like, did you really mean to send this to me?
yeah, send me that
Like,
one.
just ignore it. Does it hurt to just trash it every other month
Right.
when you get an email? Like,
That's what I do.
no.
Put
I
it in
do
the trash.
love what it says on page 225 about the chocolate. So it says, let's say you love chocolate. This is kind of changing, but let's say you love chocolate. You have a friend who despises chocolate, but does that mean chocolate sucks? No, it means one person doesn't like chocolate. Chocolate makers don't lose sleep over the fact that some people don't like chocolate. So I think that's really like, really makes sense too when we are working our business and we feel like we get to a place where we are like, people are allowed to not want to use Arbonne. People are allowed to not like our products. People are allowed to say no to hosting, like, and we tend to not give grace there. At least I didn't for a long time. I've over 9 years, you kind of like learn not to place that value and emotion in certain places. But I thought that was like a really good example. And when it comes to our business in particular, we don't need everyone to be a part of our business. We only need a couple. Like, we don't need a ton. So just keep your focus there. So there was one other thing I wanted to mention that I'm really not finding it. Anybody else want to say anything?
I always talk, but I'll just say my favorite quote was when she said, forget all that shit, go for what you want. That was my favorite.
See, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, guys, anything else at all? Okay. So we have one chapter left, which is a really good one. I know I've said that about every single one of these. I honestly felt that way about them. So a couple book options. And I would love to figure it out right now, what we want to read next. You guys have time to get your book, so we can start it. So the first two easy ones would be what's part of our 90 Strong challenge for the next month. So something you're going to have to be reading anyways. You have two options of what you can choose from. The first one is The Compound Effect. It is a smaller book, easy read, love it. It is like The Slight Edge if you've read that. It just talks about how consistency compounds over time, and it breaks that down like throughout the book. So a good example here is like, you want to lose weight, and so does your best friend. She cuts out gluten and dairy for a year, and you don't. Obviously, consistency with that over 12 months, at the end of 12 months, you're going to look different. But one meal at a time doesn't look that different. 1 week at a time doesn't look that different. But when you compare over 12 months, you see major change. And that's the difference with consistency in business. So the first book is The Compound Effect. This is one of my favorites. I love it. So there is this one. The other one to read, I just read in 2 days, actually 3 days, is called The Traveler's Journey. No.
Gift.
Traveler's Gift. 7 Success Tips, something like that. It is a spiritual-based book. It's not the whole thing. I think if you aren't a Christian, you could definitely read the book and pull from even those parts based on whatever your faith is. But there's a lot of the book that is just focused on success tips of like taking responsibility for where you're at in your life and giving yourself grace and showing up more than everyone else, like those kinds of tips, but it's told through a fictional story. And so that's why it's so easy to read. Like I sat down over the course of a few hours and almost read the whole thing. But I had time to do that. You don't have to do that. Obviously, you don't have to do that. But it's a really easy read. And the end of the book, the whole book's good and I liked it. But the end of the book like shook me a little bit. Like it really changed. I was like, whoa. It kind of put life into a different perspective for me in a really good way. So we have those two options, which you have to choose to do one of those for the next month anyway, so we can make that one of our book club books.
For some reason, The Traveler's Gift isn't in the actual printed 90 Strong, but I did buy both of them because that's what you said.
What does it say?
It says The Compound Effect or The 7 Decisions by Andy Andrews.
That's it. The 7.
But you told us, it's called the same thing?
It's the same thing.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
The 7
I already got them both, so let's do it.
The 7 Decisions Traveler's Gift. It's the same. Yep. Okay. So we have those two. A couple other of my 3 other of my favorites is, well, actually, Dare to Dream, Work to Win is a book that every MVP will recommend that you read, like first thing in your business, and I have never read it. So I thought that might be a fun one. Like if you ask the top income earners, what would you give a brand new consultant to start their reading? They would say this, and I've never read it. So here's this one too. Another one is called 3 Feet from Gold. This one is so good. A lot of people love it. And it just talks about like how most people quit when they're that close and how not to do it. Okay. So guys, why don't you, Lauren just chose Dare to Dream. So why don't we comment here in a second which one you want to do. And then the last one is called On Fire by John O'Leary. This one for me is very similar to Everything's Figureoutable, but very like it's the same kind of platform. I don't know. Maybe it's not. No, it's not. Never mind. I didn't say that. So this is about
Retract the statement. Delete that from the record.
Rewind. This one, he actually spoke at GTC 3 years ago. When he was a little boy, set his house on fire and was burned in 99% of his body and was expected to die. And he lived.
That's a whole new meaning to On Fire.
And so he tells his story chapter by chapter, and he pulls from each part of his story like a life lesson. And it is unreal. It is absolutely amazing. So these are the books we have. Obviously, we can do all of them back to back as we continue on, but these are just some I thought of. So again, we have, let's type numbers, okay? We have number 1, The Traveler's Gift, 7 success tips. Number 2, compound effect. So you do have to read one of those 2. Number 3, dare to dream. Number 4, 3 feet from gold. And number 5, on fire. 1 and 3, 3 or 4, 1, okay, 1 or 3. Travelers, okay, we're looking at 3. Which one was 3? This one was 3. I didn't write them down. See, this is the flighty. 3 or 4. It looks like it's going to be 3. But how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what it is. 3. So dare to dream, work to win. You guys are making me read a book I haven't read. Okay. All right, let's do it. So this is by Tom Barrett. He's awesome. Make sure you get it. So next week we'll do chapter 10 and then we'll move on to this one. Sound good? All right, awesome guys.
Will you post a picture of that book?
I will.
On the with
I will.
stuff. Okay.
$5.
Yeah, so other people can grab it and join us if they want. All right.
$4 on eBay. You're welcome.
$4?
Sweet.
Or $131 on eBay. Yeah.
I better get there.
An older edition. But they're probably all listed.
All right, guys.
Don't go on eBay. eBay's the devil. The end.
The end. All right, guys. I'll see you before next week, but
Good night, everybody.
good night. Good night.
Bye.